Tuesday, March 27th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about the amazing board game, Amun Re. Let's do this.
So, of course, over the weekend, as we are often wont to do, the Front Row crew played Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep, we started a monthly game, and I'm surprised that we're still keeping it up.
Now, of course, the only problem with this is that as much as I love the Front Row crew, I've basically determined, empirically mind you, that our friends, the Front Row crew, as a whole, are not in fact our friends, the Front Row crew, but are the Visigoths.
I don't know, they might be some other type of goth, or perhaps just plain old Huns.
No, they're not Huns, because the Huns just ravaged, and the Ostrogoths had this whole other thing. But the Visigoths would overrun Roman territory, right? And they liked what the Romans had. They wanted to use the Roman roads and the Roman aqueducts and the Roman government. So
I want to use Roman roads and aqueducts and government.
So they'd come in and they'd say, all right, we've conquered you. Haha. And after a little bit of pillaging, they'd settle down in the area, intermarry a little bit, leave the social structure intact, and while they would use the Roman roads and all that Roman infrastructure, they wouldn't maintain it or take care of it, and eventually it all collapsed. So the Front Row crew comes in, and to do a brief summary, by the end of the weekend, someone broke a glass and decided to not tell anyone. I found it now, fully intact yet shattered, hidden behind a bunch of other glasses. Someone ripped the handle out of the bathroom door. It was kind of loose, but they ripped it like doubly out and bent it. And during the weekend, an unnamed individual just about set fire to a hot dog by trying to cook it on high on a Teflon pan on an electric oven. No one did their dishes. There was a giant mess in the kitchen. I found bits of food hidden everywhere. It was generally awesome.
Do people do this in their own homes? I wonder. Because, I go to other people's houses, and I might use a cup and then put it in the sink and not wash it. I might, leave my stuff strewn about near my bag and then put it all back in my bag before I leave. I might, leave something somewhere and then put it back, But I don't break a glass and not tell anyone. I don't break the handle on a door. I don't set fire to hot dogs.
Well, I just remember because way back after the New Year's party, we commented to a few people, just kind of like, not even like, grr, you people, but someone broke this and someone broke that. And we kind of tallied off all the things that have been broken in our house over the course of the several days. And it was funny how almost all of our friends immediately would get all defensive, like, well, it wasn't me. Well, it wasn't me. And each one of them individually said it wasn't them. And yet somehow collectively the damage was done.
Yeah, it's like we made it very clear that we were making a general comment and not singling anyone out. Yet everyone was super defensive, like, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. I'm cool. And it's like, hey, maybe you're all uncool.
I just wonder, either one or more of our friends, remember even back in Colony when an unnamed individual broke all the eggs in the fridge by dropping them?
And then put them back in the fridge.
That was particularly awesome.
Yes.
At least no one peed on the floor.
This time.
Yes. So we're about halfway through cleaning up after D&D. Maybe we should have it at the other Geek House for once. One weekend.
Maybe we should. Of course, they don't have room to play D&D. Maybe we should rent a place out, like a room somewhere. Or a library or something.
Or we could just buy that house around the corner that's like twice as big as our house. Of course, none of that matters because Scott is showing right now and I am also showing. We could wear shorts today because it was like 70 degrees. Hot damn.
Well, I didn't actually wear shorts to work today because it wasn't that warm in the morning. But when I was sweating all day. I was sweating in the office. I was sweating walking from the office to the subway. I was sweating on the train home. I was sweating walking basically from the train to the house, except for when I was driving in the car with the windows open. So when I got home, I immediately put the shorts on. The only time that pants were a correct choice of clothing was on the way to the train in the morning.
See, I really can't wear pants or shorts to work. I have to wear not even business casual, business professional. But I always bring shorts and a t-shirt and whatever and sandals or something. And I usually change and then drive home in that.
I can wear a Metroid shirt to work.
Yeah, I can't. I gotta wear collared shirts, occasionally ties, and sport jackets.
Speaking of work, this new work that I have, it's got okay people. They're not the awesomest nerds in the world and we're geeking out all the time. But, they're cool. They're not bad. And they actually give me work to do, and they care if I do it, and they talk to me about the work, and that's pretty cool because I've never actually had that before, surprisingly enough. However, there is still one problem. They gave me the work. I said, all right, is there a due date for this? And they said, And eventually they're like, all right, April 1st. When's April 1st, Rim? Sunday?
I believe so.
I finished the work today, so I got 3 days of, yeah.
Yeah, I have the opposite problem where I could finish the work immediately, except that I either have to wait for someone else to do something, or it involves paperwork that no one will explain to me or tell me what it is.
Yeah, at least so far, all the works I've been doing have been sort of individual works, but other people know about them, so I can ask and get answers, and they answer me because they're right there, and they're not stupid. And then I get the work done.
I should just be a freaking independent IT consultant. I'd make a lot more money, and I wouldn't have to rely on anyone.
Do whatever you want, man. I'll be good where I am now for at least a year, maybe more.
Maybe. I don't know. I think the 10-week mark, every 10 weeks that goes by, every one of us gets a little bit more unsettled by our jobs.
That is true. However, I was re-energized by the good weather.
I feel great. I'm wide awake for the first time since winter.
I'm actually thinking if I had managed to not quit the job I just had and got through it until the spring, then I probably would have not quit again until the winter when I felt shitty again.
It's like every winter I get all and it's almost like I forget that there's a summer and that it's gonna come back.
Yeah.
It's like during summer it's like, wow, these days could never end.
Let's pick up and move to the tropics, man.
You know, I would if it weren't for the fact that there aren't so many jobs for someone like me at the tropics.
It's kind of weird. It's like, why did humans decide to build the great cities in places where the weather wasn't so great?
Remember, the question,
we could have built the New York City where Miami is and the Miami where New York City is, but no.
Well, remember, it goes a lot further back in human history. I mean, historically, the cultures that ended up militarily dominating the rest of the world over and over again tended to come from the colder climates, where maybe life was tougher.
Yes, that is correct. However, if they were any smart people that came from the colder climates, they would have gone to the warmer climate and conquered it and lived there instead.
All right, a lot of people did, and those places ended up shitty for a lot of reasons.
Because someone sucked along the way.
Part of it was malaria. A lot of those places had diseases that we didn't really have the technology to deal with.
Well, we don't have those diseases now.
Yes, we do.
We don't have to worry about them if you have money. Only poor people have to worry about malaria.
But there's a lot of poor people around.
There are.
Also, malaria is not the only issue. I mean, Florida's great and all, but there are a lot of fleas down there compared to up here.
That's true.
Let's
just conquer, like, a Caribbean island and build an awesome city on it.
Plus,
With a beach. Imagine that city, beach right next to it.
Scott, I put forth another idea that areas in the tropics tend to get hit by more severe weather than, say, New York City.
Well, hurricanes sometimes.
Yeah. Cities wouldn't do so well there.
You just build a hurricane-proof city.
A hurricane-proof city.
Yep.
Right. Anyway, in the news, and this is about as vague and possibly untrue of news as I would ever put forth as news. And I bring it up more because I want to talk about if these things happen and why they should happen, as opposed to, oh my god, they are happening. But the news is broken that both Guitar Hero and Katamari are supposedly coming out on the Wii.
Also, Nights into Dreams. But
yes.
that one is like the chances of these things being true. It's like Nights into Dreams. It's already at 90% because there's like a cover of a UK magazine that's got Nights on the cover. So that's probably true. Guitar Hero, like 50 to 60% true. Katamari, maybe like 40 to 50% true. I
don't know. I think Katamari has a big chance of coming over to the Wii.
Yes, but I'm just talking about the right now, how much faith you can put in believing it without looking like an idiot. Well, based on the evidence.
In terms of, I see every reason why these companies should.
They should, 100%.
And not even just for to be nice or, for the fans, whatever, but a lot of people who have PlayStation 2s or, more mainstream normal gamers or normal people out there seem to kind of assume that everyone has a PS2 and everyone has these systems. And as was illustrated in stark relief over the weekend, our friend Scott Johnson brought Guitar Heroes 2, and 2 guitars to our house. And he pulls them out and he's like, look what I brought. And we're like, great, hook up the PS2 and we'll go. And he says, I didn't bring a PS2, and none of us had a PS2.
Yep, we might get one soon though, because the slim PS2 is a lot slimmer than I thought it was.
Yeah,
and so far we've got a Mac Mini and a Wii under the TV, So a slim PS2 is small enough that it can go next to those things without.
Honestly, that's one reason why I don't want a PS3, because it's gigantic.
Yep.
It wouldn't really fit.
Only small things are going under the TV. I found this amp that's going to go when I finally, get back in financial straits. It's actually bigger than any of the devices we have down there, but it's still really small. But yeah, talking about the Wii, I mean, there was just a story today that says that Nintendo might be holding back on the Wiis a little bit. At least GameStop seems to think so who knows, right? But because they've met their projected, sales for Wiis.
In fact, they met
the time period.
They met it early. They already hit 6 million. So anything they make beyond that is beyond expectations.
Yeah. So anyone who wants a Wii now will just buy one when it comes out, when the quarter changes. So they might as well just hold those Wiis and then put those sales into the next quarter so they can make sure they meet their projections then.
Well, also, in terms of, people talk about not just the Wii drought, but the game drought for the Wii. It seems very simple that right now people are buying Wiis on the merit of basically Wii Sports and Twilight Princess.
Basically, yes. In fact, mostly just Wii Sports.
Yeah. And while Nintendo, if they were awesome, would immediately start pumping out games that just made full use of the Wii, or basically if they just listen to what we and probably Dave and Joel have to say about the Wii, they just do that. But financially, sadly, they have no reason to, because the Wii is making them ass goblins worth of money.
Not only that it's making them ass goblins worth of money.
I meant to say ass gobs. I'm not sure why I said goblin.
But
too much D&D. Because I killed that goblin.
Yeah, not only is it making them ass goblins worth of money, but they might actually not make as much money by releasing a shit ton of games, because the Wii right now is not really a risk. It's a profitable game console. That's almost never happened ever, and it's stupidly popular. It's not a risk to make one more Wii and sell it.
It also helps that Nintendo, unlike every other game company pretty much ever, has always had this philosophy that they will make a profit on anything. If they can't make a profit on something, they wouldn't even consider the idea.
Making a game, however awesome that most people might think the game is, even making another Mario game, you got to think, Super Mario Galaxy that's coming out, right? That's actually a risk compared to the Wii. So why would they make more games when their console is still going strong and selling like crazy? It just doesn't make sense to start taking a risk when you're raking in the dough.
Plus, Nintendo has always done the thing of, they have like X games that pretty much everyone who has a Wii or a GameCube or whatever is going to buy. And they spread them out so that you never have to decide, oh shit, do I buy Twilight Princess or Metroid Princess?
I think what's going to happen here is two things. Number one, when the DS came out, it was the same story. There weren't games for a long time. There were a few games at the start, like Advance Wars and Mario, whatever, and then it was just drought.
Yeah, we both played our DSs nonstop for like a month, and then I didn't really touch it for another 5 months.
Yeah, and now I look over there, and I have a fistful of DS games. Literally.
I have a red solo cup that's just full of DS and GBA games that I played. I have like 2 GBA games, so it's all DS.
But I mean, the DS is already like, 2 or 3 years old almost. It's crazy, isn't it?
And the thing is, the DS isn't even at its peak yet, as far as I can see. The DS is just this steamroller of gaming.
So the same thing's going to happen with the Wii. Right now, it sucks because the games are not living up to the potential of the console. There could be the greatest gaming experience in the universe on the Wii, but there won't be for a few years because of business, and we're losing out because of money.
Yeah, Nintendo was smart, because I get the moment the Wii curve starts to slacken, and they have reason to, they'll suddenly start ramping up the games to cover it, so they'll make constant money right up to the end of the life.
By this time next year, there's going to be plenty of awesome Wii games. I guarantee at least almost 10 awesome Wii games will be out by this time next year. And not only that, but unlike some other Nintendo systems like the GameCube, the Wii is actually selling crazily. Therefore, a lot of people will have Wiis in their house. If a lot of people have Wiis in their house, and not so many people have PS3s, and you're a game developer or publisher, you're pretty much going to be forced to at least make your games for the Wii and the 360 or something like that.
Especially non-grade A top-tier franchises. I mean, top-tier franchises, they don't have to worry about that as much because they know the hardcore fans will do whatever they need to do to get the game.
Yep.
The game itself has this whole cachet that comes with it. But with lower quality, lower tier third-party developers who maybe aren't well known, or games that aren't some franchise that they know will sell, you pretty much want to put it on the most popular system or as many systems as possible.
Yeah, pretty much because the Wii is actually selling compared to the GameCube, you could ignore the GameCube because there weren't so many of them out there. Publishers are not going to be able to ignore the Wii in the long run, and no matter what, even if people don't make games that take full advantage of what the Wii can do and live up to the full potential of the Wii, they're still going to make games and they're still going to sell. There's plenty of good DS games out there that don't take full advantage of the DS that are selling just fine. I mean, that Puzzle Quest is all the rage right now.
Yeah, and
apparently, though, the PSP version I heard is better.
Yeah, I don't know. The PSP I still don't really worry about at all.
Yeah, the PSP is still kind of crummy, but lately it's actually, because they've been concentrating on games, it's getting a little bit better.
Well, Sony did say that they're shifting a lot of resources toward the PSP to bolster it.
Yeah, and it's sort of working. I'm looking at the PSP game shelf and I'm going, there's a few games there that no one knew about because no one talks about the PSP.
Yep, but then if I owned a PSP, I would have bought those games in a second.
Oh, instantly. I would have bought the Puzzle Quest.
In fact, if a
There's
PSP...
a Mega Man game over there.
If a PSP were a reasonable price, I would probably purchase it and then buy all those games.
Yeah, it's getting less crappy.
The problem is I don't know what a reasonable price is for me. I don't know if I'd pay more than $100 for a PSP because the games are good, but they're not that good.
Yeah, if the PSP was $100, I would buy it. I'm sure they'll eventually one day, maybe like a PSP revision 2 or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I got some board game news here. Well, it's not really, all of it's not news, but it might be news to me and it might be news to you. Some guy on boardgamenews.com did an interview with the Rio Grande guy. I'm not sure what his name is. Let's see. It doesn't matter. He's the Rio Grande guy. You know, the company that prints all the awesome games in English in America. Yeah.
So what, is he the company spokesman, the CFO, the what?
I don't know. He might be the head guy. I didn't bother to read it. What's important are the questions he asked him. And most of the questions are about games that are coming out. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Most of these are re-released games. You see, and not new games. All right, so first of all, Lost Cities, which is... I played Lost Cities like 5 times, and it's a really good 2-player card game. It's just your deck of cards, a 2-player game. There's some good strategy. I don't know if it'd be fun infinity times, but it's a good game to own. Well, there's going to be a reprinting of it in Germany, and they're changing, like, some art on it, and the Rio Grande guy says, yeah, we're reprinting Lost Cities again, too, you know, because they're reprinting it over there, and I want to use the new art, but he doesn't like how the board and the cards aren't changed, so it'd be like the old board and cards in a new box, and he's like, oh, that sucks. So he's going to try to get new board and cards to match the new box and reprint Lost Cities. So if you're thinking about Lost Cities, you should wait for the new reprinting. Also, La Cita, or La Cita, or however you want to say it, is an awesome game I heard about, but I was unable to buy, and still am unable to buy, because it's been out of print. Well, they're going to reprint it. Oh yeah, I'm getting that one for sure. Pretty much as soon as that's available, I'm going to pre-order it and get it, because it's an awesome game. Power Grid, that's a famous game they're going to reprint.
Surprisingly, one I've never played.
Yep.
I know all about it.
I know all about it. I watched a video at Board Games with Scott, where that Scott, that's not me, sat with the designer of the game, who looked like a cool German guy, and they talked all about it. And I said, that's a game for me, and I still never played it. Cartagena, which is a game I've always wanted to play, where you escape from prison because you're pirates and you're in a prison. They asked the guy if he has a preference for Cartagena 2, Cartagena 2nd Edition, or the original, and the guy said he hasn't played enough of them to know which one he likes the most.
Is that the one where you have to end up going down that long corridor and get on the boat at the dock? Or...
Yes, that's that one.
Okay, I know which game that is.
I kind of want to play that game too.
Someone said it was crap.
Did they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've looked at it. I want to play it, but without paying for it.
See, the problem is I don't remember who said it was crap, but I remember distinctly someone poo-pooing it a long time ago.
Well, if I ever see it at a convention, I'm playing it. Maybe at Kineticon or at...
I'll definitely play it, because I like the idea.
Yeah. Here's the... I'm going to read this one word for word. Any word on the Puerto Rico expansion? Can you give us any hints about what will be expanding? Andreas has given me no info yet. Sorry. Oh, well. There's going to be a Puerto Rico expansion, but we don't know anything about it.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. Puerto Rico is still, as far as I'm concerned, and I state this with all of my vigor, probably the best designed board game in the world.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, a game at best could be the equal to Puerto Rico in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that after having played it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah. That's about it for this fun little interview. However, I do want to point out that the Gathering of Friends is going on soon or now or just now. I'm not quite sure. But for anyone who doesn't know, the Gathering of Friends is this invite-only gaming con that lasts a whole bunch of days. And all the who's in the awesome world of, designer gaming and such go there, and you can play games that aren't out yet and all kinds of stuff. And like only a few hundred people go, and it's crazy. And I've seen pictures of it, and I'm like, ooh, but we aren't invited. Maybe one day we will be invited, but probably not for a long time because we're not really big members of that community so much. We just are in the hobby without being in the community.
Yeah, a lot of people actually, they ask us, oh, well, what's your name on Board Game Geek or blah, blah, blah. When we meet
I
in the
have a name on
cons.
Board Game Geek, but I barely use it,
Yeah, and people are like, oh, I'll buy those games from you, but if I buy a game, I'm keeping it forever. There's only one game I've ever thought of possibly getting rid of, and that's because it's crap.
Yeah, I gotta get rid of Hellas, maybe.
Hellas isn't that bad. It's just the rules are ambiguous.
Hellas could be fixed, but it's not.
See, we keep saying, oh, we'll fix it. Oh, we'll fix it.
We got better things to do.
Yeah, maybe when we're old men, we'll fix Hellas, play it once, you'll die.
And then I'll sell it, and then I'll die. Or I'll die, and then they'll sell it at my estate sale.
Things of the day. So, I very rarely see a picture that so perfectly characterizes everything that I would have to say about a given situation. But this picture pretty much sums up everything I have to say. It shows what you can get for the same amount of money. And on one side of the picture is a PlayStation 3 and one bottle of cheap beer.
Alrighty.
On the left is an Xbox 360 and several cartons of beer. More beer than any amount of humans could reasonably drink at a small party over several evenings. A large amount.
And both piles cost the same amount of money.
Yes, both piles cost the same amount of money.
So you could either get a PS3 and one beer, or an Xbox 360 and a whole shit ton of beer for the same amount of money.
See, I kind of expected them to use weed in the picture, except for the fact that they probably would have gotten in trouble.
Probably. You could probably get like a big ass potato sack full of weed. I don't know how much weed costs, but I assume you could get like a potato bag full.
Of course, I always wonder, because they show beer, and it looks like it's Foster's, which is Australian for piss water, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, you're going to have to try again with some real beer.
Well, let's see. They could probably get 2 or 3 cans of one of those fancy hoity-toity beers, even though that recent study showed that in double-blind trials, people can't tell if you add vinegar to beer or not, even if it's fancy beer.
I guess they should maybe, I don't know, put Guinness or something. Because Guinness, while I don't drink beer at all, it seems to me, from what other people say, that Guinness is one of those, it's a brand of beer that's everywhere, but it doesn't suck that much.
Well, I generally like either really, 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 really dark, heavy beer, like a beer that would be a meal. Like I could drink it and I would be full for the evening. Or I like Red Stripe. I really like Red Stripe. But I wonder what the equivalent amount of Mad Train would be to this amount of Foster's.
Yeah, I wonder. Those Night Shift podcast guys, they always talk about Steel Reserve, which is like the cheapest beer in the universe. I wonder how much of that you could get.
Well, there's always the local beers from back at RIT. That Genny Jenny stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though everyone actually drank Labatt Blue.
Called the Canadians drank the Labatt Blue, and the Rochesterians drank the Genesee, whatever. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's the Genesee. It's made in the area. It's the local beer.
Yeah. And also, I'd like to point out to the person in the forums who thought that the chicken police was not a good thing of the day. 1, you can die in a fire. And 2, that spider thing is ancient. In fact, I buried it on Dig for being old news.
All right, so my thing today is a fun flash game. This fun flash game will occupy exactly 5 minutes of your time.
Fun.
What the fuck?
Fungus Festival?
No.
Anyway.
So, I like to play a lot of flash games to, especially when I'm at work, not working. I need something to cure my boredom. God damn it.
I don't know how you can be bored. I would go read a book or go for a walk or something.
I can't just sit there reading a book, because then someone will say, why are you reading a book?
Read a book online.
I guess I could.
I did that often, actually, when I worked at IBM and I had downtime.
Anyway, this flash game is pretty cool. It's actually on the Adult Swim website, of all places, which I didn't realize had flash games. Maybe I'll have to go there more often. This flash game is called 5 Minutes to Kill, parenthesis, yourself, parenthesis. What happens in this game is you basically have 5 buttons you can push. Up, down, left, right, and space. And you start out as an office worker. You pick which shirt you're going to wear and which pants you're going to wear. And the choices aren't diverse.
So what, the pink one or the white one for the shirt?
Pretty much white or blue and what shade of brown for pants. And there's some that are off limits because they're casual Friday only. Maybe if you played the game on Friday, you can choose those. I don't know. And you start off sitting in your little cubicle. And this guy says, if I get one more meeting invite, I'm going to kill myself. And he gets a meeting invite, and he says, that's it, I'm killing myself. And you walk around the office, going up to various things, pushing the space bar. And then when you go up to something and push the space bar, you will use it to kill yourself. Or use it in whatever way it is used.
Are there a lot of things?
There's a lot of things. And you only have 5 minutes to do 100% damage, or else you don't kill yourself, and you don't die, and you lose.
What, so the meeting's in 5 minutes? If you're not dead, you just go to the meeting?
I don't know, but you have 5 minutes to kill yourself. That's how the game works. So, like, you go up to the stapler, you push space, you take the stapler, and you whack yourself with it a whole bunch of times, and there's blood everywhere, and it says, like, 3% damage, staple something.
Wow, if I think about it, if I had to kill myself in 5 minutes, it wouldn't be easy without inflicting massive amounts of pain upon myself.
I would just get my car going really fast, then get out of it and go under the wheels.
How are you going to do that?
What do you mean? Or even
one,
better, I
Scott,
just drive my car into something really fast.
That might not kill you, and you'll probably lay there for a while going, ow, ow, and it might take you more than 5 minutes to die.
I'll put a potato in the exhaust and sit in the car.
That takes more than 5 minutes.
Damn it.
Plus, we don't have a garage. You just sit there until you ran out of gas.
Maybe I would just drink some gas.
You'd vomit and feel like crap, and you probably wouldn't die. At least not right away.
I'd have to go, like, stand a knife up on the ground and then jump out of the window and land on it.
Why not? If you're going to use a knife, that would hurt. Why not just cut yourself open?
I don't know. It wouldn't be easy, but pretty much this is a fun game because you're going around the office not only trying to do 100% damage in 5 minutes, but there's a lot of interesting things to do. Like, there's an elevator that goes to different floors, and there are combinations you can do. Like, you can get the lighter and then the can of air and combine them to, like, burn your face off, and all sorts of interesting things, you know? And especially if you go to the second floor or the first floor, there's lots of weird, humorous stuff, and it's sort of an exploration game in a way, but you only have 5 minutes. You can't possibly explore everything in just one playthrough, so you got to play it a few times if you want to see all the goods.
I don't think it has my favorite method of suicide that a friend of ours always used to talk about.
Which one?
Where you walk into pretty much the most crowded part of a major city that you can with a soapbox. And you put it down, stand up on it, there's a trigger at your foot that is connected to the squibs around your neck. And then you shout, everyone, everyone, could I have your attention? Get as big a crowd around you as possible. And then yell, ta-da, and blow your head up.
Uh-huh.
I really like that method.
Alrighty. That's not a choice, I don't think. But many of the choices are humorous. And it's also sort of humorous that, like, a lot of the ways you have of hurting yourself, like, don't do nearly as much damage as they should. Like, he takes his face and puts it in a shredder, and it does, like, 3% damage. Even there's blood everywhere. It's like, what?
It'd be really hard to get your face into a shredder.
I know. I don't get it.
I couldn't even stick my finger in a shredder.
Nah. And, like, if you go in the bathroom, there's, like, a clown in the stall for some reason, and if you go in there, he'll beat the crap out of you. Yeah. Like, if you go to the second floor and try to go into this room, like, weasels will come out and bite you, and you can put a piñata on your head, and some guys will come and hit you with baseball bats. And it's a fun game. It's worth playing.
Piñata's good.
Yeah. Play this game.
So speaking of games you should play, as opposed to, I guess, movies you should see, we're going to talk about it's definitely one of our top 10 favorite games. We play it often. We really like it. Reiner Knizia's Amun Re.
Amun Re is a game about pyramids.
Yes. Now, before we
in Egypt.
It's actually about bidding.
Yes.
We didn't even realize that when we first got it.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we've learned much from this game over time. Unlike some games where you figure them out right away, and then it's just a matter of who has the optimal strategy quickest, or who can read the other person better. Amun Re was one of those evolving games where, as we played it over time, we started realizing different things about it, and the dynamics kind of pushed the game in totally different directions.
It didn't help that for a long period of time we were playing the game slightly incorrectly, which completely changed it.
Yes, and then we fixed that, and then we were still playing it incorrectly, and then we fixed it, and then we were still playing it incorrectly due to some ambiguities.
They were small ambiguities and incorrectnesses, but they existed, and they did change the game significantly.
Yes. However, even when we played it incorrectly, it was such a good game that it still worked out.
It did. It did indeed.
Worked out very well, in fact.
All right, so this is how this game works, Amun Re. You've got this board full of provinces. There's 16 provinces in ancient Egypt, right? And you're going to bid money. You're going to start with money, and you're going to get more money. And you're going to spend money, a lot of it, to get the province you want. So in a 4-player game, or there'll be 4 provinces available, and you're going to get one, and everyone's going to get one. And then you build up the provinces, and you do it 2 more times. If you do it 2 more times in a 4-player game, then that's what? 4, 8, 12 provinces will end up getting bought. All right.
So everyone will get 3 provinces, and you've built stuff on them.
Yes.
Now here's the one trick of the game. The thing, because every game that we like always has that mechanic. Like Tigers and Euphrates had your lowest color is your score.
Mm-hmm.
And this game's thing is that, all right, so then you score everything you've got. Then the Nile floods, and all the farmers die, and everyone loses all their provinces, but the pyramids everyone built remain. And you play the whole game again, bidding on the same provinces, only now there's a bunch of stuff already on them.
Well, pyramids, pretty much. So it's like, if you build a whole bunch of pyramids somewhere in the first half of the game, you might have to pay a lot of money and bid a lot of money to get those pyramids back under your control in the second half. Or else you might have just bought a whole lot of pyramids for a lot of money and someone else takes them away for very little money in the second half.
But at the same time, you might not care about that depending on your strategy.
Yep. The other thing about this game is that there's this little meter. It goes from 1 to 4. And in between every single round of play, people sacrifice money to the gods.
Let's sacrifice him to our god!
And it's pretty fun to do this because you take an amount of money cards and you put them in your hand and you put your hand out there. And then once everyone's hand is out, you turn your hand over and you reveal how much money you've got.
And it always goes like, I'll go 6 and Scott will go -3.
Yeah. Basically, you can either sacrifice to the gods, in which case you give them money and they make things better.
Or
you
can jack the gods and steal from the temple.
You can take money from the temple. You can steal 3 money from the temple, and then they don't make anything better for you, but you get money.
But unlike other games, the gods are real in Amun Re, and they'll in fact, depending on how much is sacrificed to them, there'll be more or less flooding, which means farmers generate more or less money, and traders may or may not be able to get to the provinces.
And temples are worth more or less victory points, and all sorts of stuff.
Now, beyond that, the other key things about this game are that you'll buy resources. You'll be buying farmers and bricks to build pyramids and power cards, which are, we'll get to all that. Little cards that do stuff.
Yep.
The thing is, in any given round, you buy some amount of all 3 of these things. But there's a little track that shows the effective diminishing returns of buying multiples.
Yep, so on each turn, you're going to get a chance to buy power cards, a chance to buy farmers, and a chance to buy bricks, and bricks make pyramids. So bricks and pyramids are the same thing.
But if I buy 1 brick, it costs 1 money.
If
I buy 2 bricks, it
costs 3.
3 money. If I buy 3 bricks, it costs 6. 4, it costs 10. And it just goes up from there.
Yep, so to buy 3 bricks in 1 turn costs $6. But to buy 1 brick each turn for 3 turns costs $3. You see? Because you only had to pay more for buying more of one thing at one time.
Now, this adds a very good mechanic to the game. It prevents the common occurrence of someone just saves up a bunch of money and then blitzes somewhere. Because now, the more you don't do in 1 turn, the harder it is to do in any other turn.
Yep. Also, there are a lot of ways to just get stuff. Like, there'll be a province on the board, and if you buy that province, you get a free power card.
Or there's a mechanic where, depending on how much money, whoever gives the most money to the gods gets 3 extra goodies. Whoever gives the second most gets 2 extra goodies, and that sort of thing.
So let's say I buy a place, I bid to get a province that gives me a free power card. And then on that same turn, I buy 2 power cards, right? So I got 1 power card, and I bought 2, which cost 3. Normally, it would cost me 6 to buy 3 power cards in a turn. But I paid 3 and got 3 power cards in a turn. I saved 3 money. Let's say I bought 4 power cards and I still got a free one, right? Well, buying 4 costs 10 and buying 5 costs 15. So getting 1 free one and buying 4 is like saving $5. And by getting goodies in other ways besides buying them and also buying them at the same time, you can really get ahead in this game.
Now, the other really interesting thing about this game, and this is really the core before we talk more detail about how the game is actually played. by all appearances, it looks like some kind of board game. Maybe you'll call it a building game or a resource management game or diminishing returns game. But in the end, once you're smart and you realize what's going on, this is primarily a bidding game. It is a game where, because in order to get provinces, you all bid on them. And the mechanics of bidding are really, really awesome. But knowing exactly how much things are worth and how much you're willing to spend on them and how much you should spend and how much other people are spending is critical and, in fact, probably the primary factor in who will or will not win this game.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really matters. I mean, it's not hard to figure out how much stuff to buy or how much money to spend. It's also not that hard to figure out how much to sacrifice to the gods. What matters the most is what provinces you end up bidding on and winning. That is the number one thing determining whether you will win or lose. Because for all the different stuff you can buy in this game, there really aren't too many ways to get victory points. And victory points are all that matters in winning.
Yep, the fact there are so few ways that you can have a turn where you can do a lot of stuff, and yet none of those things will really generate you victory points in any direct fashion.
You can play this whole game from beginning to end and feel like you're doing really great. You know, you buy a shit ton of farmers, you buy bricks, you buy power cards, you keep doing stuff. You're getting lots of money and spending lots of money, and all sorts of stuff's happening. But in the end, you might only get like a handful of victory points, and you'd be like, how the hell did that happen? Usually in most board games, you know, if you're doing a lot of stuff, you're getting a lot of victory points, pretty much no matter what. In Settlers, the more you do, the more victory points you get. That's how the game works. This is the only game where the victory, you can do a lot and feel like you're, and not actually get a lot of victory points, or you cannot do so much and somehow get a bunch of points if you'd played smartly. It's really tricky.
Now, the actual bidding mechanism, and I want to talk about this because I think it's neat. There'll be X number of provinces out there, and what you'll do is you'll draw one card randomly for each player in the game. So if there's 4 players, there'll be 4 random things out there. So the game is different every time you play it. And not just in terms of what comes up, but in terms of what order it comes up, which can matter a lot.
Yeah, because some of the play, like, remember, you play 3 rounds, and then there's a flood, and then you play 3 rounds. Some provinces, if they come up in the first of 3 rounds, are awesome. And if they come up at the 3rd round, they suck. So,
but yet, this is all mitigated and balanced automatically by the fact that the players decide what provinces are worth by bidding on them.
Yep. So if you're going to get stuck with the sucky province, you're probably not going to pay anything for it. You'll just get it for free. Unless
you were a total failure when it comes to intrigue, second guessing, and valuation.
Yeah, valuation is key. You pretty much have to not know what the provinces are worth to buy something stupidly.
But the way the bidding works is, say I started first. Say it's just a 2-player, well, we'll do a 3-player game. Me, Scott, and Joey Jojo Shabadoo.
Joey Jojo Shabadoo. That's the worst name I ever heard.
So we got 3 provinces out. Each province have a little card on it, and it has numbers on it with spaces for the chiclets. Everyone gets a little chiclet with their color.
Yep.
And it goes 0, 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, etc.
Yep. 36, I think is next.
And what you do is you bid how much you're going to bid by putting your chiclet on the amount of money you were bidding.
All right, so there's provinces A, B, and C, and I really want province A. So I start the bidding because I go first because I'm the governor / pharaoh. I put my chiclet on the number 3 on province A. That means if no one outbids me and decides they want to pay more than 3 for province A, I pay 3 money and province A is mine.
So then, now it's my turn. I bid 0 on another province because I really don't care. I figure someone will outbid me, whatever. I'm just up in the air. Joey Jojo decides he's going to outbid Scott. He bids 6 on Scott's province.
He wants A more than I want it. So he's going to put his chiclet on number 6. So he's going to have to pay 6 money to get A. So
now we keep going around the circle. It gets back to Scott.
I have to take my chiclet back because someone outbid me, and I have to put it somewhere on another province. I can't put it on the province I just took it away from.
Aside from special cards, which aren't that common, whenever you're outbid, you have to move to another province, which is incredibly critical. You can plan intricate things where you'll bounce around or force other people to bounce around and raise the prices for everyone else, and then get the last province for free in the end.
Yeah, it's really tricky because, like, you know, if you want a province, your instinct is just bid on it right away. But if someone outbids you, you might have to remove your chiclet, move it to another province, and then if no one outbids you again, you won't have a chance to move it back. So sometimes, if you know that someone else really wants another province, maybe you'll bid on that one very low, they'll outbid you, and then you'll have a chance to move to the province you really want.
I really like the way this goes. It's not like other bidding games where you can bid an arbitrary amount.
Yeah, everyone just keeps bidding until whoever wants to pay the most gets it.
I like how it forces a progression where each jump is a significant jump. So you can't raise the bid by an insignificant amount, which also prevents a lot of analysis paralysis, because otherwise I could account for all of my money and play very exactingly and bid measly little exacting amounts, and the game would take forever.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'll pay 4 for that. Rim will be like, I'll pay 5. Is it worth 6? Yeah, it's worth 6. And we just keep bidding back and forth.
So
there's no bidding back and forth because you have to bid on something different when you get outbid. And there's no thinking about $1 differences because if I bid 6, your choices are to pay 10 at least. So it's not a very difficult decision.
So it comes down to where now when you bid, any individual bid is a momentous occasion and a big deal as opposed to a little deal. Bidding is like moving in a board game as opposed to just bidding. That's why it almost doesn't feel like bidding. Also, the fact that it's handled in this very, very elegant way with moving these chiclets around, going clockwise around the players, really makes it smooth, and I very much like it.
Yep, so eventually, because no matter what, eventually, everyone is going to be bidding on only one province, and there won't be any conflicts or outbids or anything. Everyone will claim that province for themselves and pay the amount of money they have bid.
So if you've got 5 players, it's also good to note that this is one of those rare good 5-player games.
Yeah,
Yet
it's
it
pretty
works,
much good with 3, 4, or 5.
but the fact that it allows 5 is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And also that it allows 5 and yet doesn't suck with 3 or 4.
Yeah, it pretty much, the game changes with different amounts of players, but it's still great with different amounts of players. Sort of like Puerto Rico is.
So then for each time you get a province, you just buy power cards, which are like the stiffy cards in Settlers. They're just cards that do things like bonus points if you have these provinces, or buy extra pyramid bricks for free, or that sort of thing.
Get a whole bunch of money. Some of them are like, they modify the way you bid. They let you bid on the same thing, even if you just got outbid on it. Or, there's a bid blockade where, like, if you remember how I said the bidding goes 3, 6, 10? If I have the bid blockade bidding card, I could bid 6, use the blockade card, and now you have to bid 15. You can't bid 10 because there's a blockade on the 10, and I only have to pay 6.
Now then you buy farmers, which is fun because the way farmers work is you put these farmers on the board in the provinces, depending on how many farmer slots are available on any given province, and then they generate income for you based on how much money was sacrificed to the gods, which means the real fun of this game, aside from the bidding, is that in general, the whole mechanic is that some players will probably, depending on what provinces they have a vested interest in the gods being sacrificed to a great deal in order to get more money from the massive numbers of farmers they have or to get points from their pyramids.
Yep.
Yet some players don't want the farmers to go up because they don't have any farmers. They don't want anyone to make money from it. And some players, in fact, have a vested interest in the floods being low and the gods being stiffed because they have provinces that get more money if the gods aren't around.
Yep, so for example, let's say Rim has a province that has no farmers, and all it has is 8 money. No matter what, this province makes 8 money. There is such a province. Every turn, that province will give 8 money to Rim. I have a province that has 5 farmer slots. So obviously, I'm going to try to fill it up with 5 farmers. Now, let's say no one sacrifices anything to the gods, and they get stiffed a whole lot, and we all just steal money from the temple. I'm only going to get 1 money for each of those farmers, and Rim's going to get 8 money because he gets 8 no matter what. Now, let's say we sacrifice a whole bunch to the gods. I might get $2, $3, or even $4 for each farmer at the end of that turn after we sacrifice. If I've got like 5 farmers, that could be like $20. That's a lot.
Yep.
So, obviously, if I have a lot of farmers, I'm going to sacrifice to the gods a lot. And if Rim has no farmers, he's going to try to fuck the gods.
Now, that coupled with all the other things that are affected by sacrificing to the gods, you'll sacrifice very precisely. And it often comes down... In fact, the game we just played of this, right before we did the show, I would have won, except that on 3 occasions, the bidding ended up being exactly 1 off. Or if I had put the 1 more up to the gods, everything would have been wonderful.
Yep.
Instead, Alex won, as he is often wont to do.
Yeah.
And another, in terms of the bidding and all this, we keep talking about how there's money in the game. This game, instead of using paper money or something stupid, just uses cards. All the stuff in the game, other than the bits you put on the board, are cards. They're all the same size card. You just have a hand. Your power cards, your money, everything, all of the same back, and they're just in your hand. No one can see what you've got. It's a very elegant system.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a fistful of cards. No one knows how many power cards you got unless they were counting versus how much money you've got unless they were counting. Because it looks like you just have a fistful of cards. That way you can sacrifice to the gods. People don't know what you're sacrificing.
One thing I used to do when we played that I haven't been doing for a while, and I'm not winning nearly as much as I used to now that I don't, is I used to keep track of, within about 5, like kind of vaguely, how much money everyone had by counting their income. And then I would bid accordingly.
I just kind of have a general feel for how much money people have. Like, they have a lot of money because they have a lot of farmers and the gods draw on 3, you know? And, oh, he doesn't have so much money because, you know, he had to fuck the gods and everyone else bid way up and he doesn't have any farmers, you know? And once I get that idea, I'll be like, okay, he bid 3 on that. There's no way that he's going to pay more for that other thing, so I'll go over there, and he can't afford it, you know?
Now, in terms of production quality, you know. I don't know how many times you said it just then, but good God.
I think you said it more times just now.
Anyway, the game is very high quality. All the pieces are very well put together, even though the bricks, now that we've played this game a gajillion times, are starting to chip up, I think, just from use and
I don't think
banging
they're
around
chipping
in there.
up. They just got like these weird color changes on them. There's something weird happening to the bricks. But the pyramids are still awesome. The farmers are awesome. The cards are high quality. The
It
board
comes
is
with
high
nice
quality.
cardboard bits that stand up. So when you pass the pharaoh around, he's this big guy with a whip and that Egyptian thing standing there like, oh.
The crook? I think it's called a crook. I don't know. You know, that zebra painted hook
and the
thing.
temple is very high quality. And overall, the production values of this game harken to the olden days where games were overproduced.
Yeah, I mean, this thing comes with like a sack of plastic pyramids and bricks. What beats that? Not much.
Yeah, I mean, Dracula didn't even come with a sack.
I know. We had to go buy a sack for Dracula. And it was a lot more money than Amun Re is, I think.
Yeah, of course, we got the cool flame sack, so it's okay.
Yep. The flame sack is essential for a game of Dracula.
But, I mean, in the end, Amun Re is a very, very fun game. And the only real problem I can see with it is that for a beginner, the first-time player playing with experienced players, they're pretty much going to get almost no victory points, lose horribly, and feel bad.
Yeah, but, you know, we had the advantage of playing inexperienced against inexperienced and learning together. And with that experience in this game, it's actually pretty interesting because there's just so many, like, it doesn't seem like there's so many different ways of going about it, but there really are a lot of different things you can do in this game. And, you know, at first, some of them might seem like good ideas, and then things you never even thought of are the really good ideas, and you were just playing like an idiot.
For example, the game we just played, it ended up through various means that Scott and Alex both had a vested interest in there not being farmers, and not being money around, and not being good big sacrifices to the gods. And I ended up needing a whole bunch of sacrifices to the gods. So I was the odd man out, and I got hurt by that pretty bad. But in the 4 or 5 player game, it'll often be 2 against 2 and one guy who will play whichever side will help him out, or 2 against 3, or 1 against 3, or all sorts of really fun combinations. And while players generally don't negotiate with each other very much, there's very little meta play or deal making, and there are no mechanics whatsoever in the game for that. Even though there's no rule, as far as I can see, specifically prohibiting it, the game ends up having a lot of implicit apple-orange prisoner's dilemma defection going on. It has a lot of people will end up helping each other, not because they wanted to help each other, but because they both had similar goals.
Yeah, it's sort of like, check this out. Let's say you got 3 people, right? One guy has a problems with nothing, no farmers. One guy has a problems with 3 farmers, and one guy has a problems with 6 farmers. Obviously, the 6 farmer guy wants a bigger sacrifice. Obviously, the no farmer guy wants a lower sacrifice. The guy with 3 farmers, a good sacrifice might help him. So if he sacrifices a lot to the gods, he'll get some free goodies, and he'll also get a bunch of money. But he's also helping out the guy with even more farmers to get even more money. Now, he also might want to, if he screws the gods, maybe he's losing something. He's not getting goodies. He's not getting as much money as he could. But he's sort of helping out the guy who has even less than him, but he's also hurting the guy with more. So, you know, these in-between people who, you know, maybe they have one province with a lot of farmers and one with not so many, or, you know, they're not all one-sided in how much they're going to sacrifice. Their decisions affect the game a great deal.
Also, it seems funny, though, inexperienced players, while they're not going to win, they will often decide the game when playing among experienced players, just due to the fact that they will cause situations where other players can profit. And the game then becomes, to a great degree, mess with the newbie, and everyone's taking turns trying to manipulate the newbie in order to make them win.
Yeah, pretty much if I was playing against a noob and I thought they were stupid, I would do the opposite of what they did because they would obviously do the best to help me doing the opposite of what they did.
Or I would try to position them to, say, beat someone for most pyramids on one side, even though I know they're not going to win from those 5 points, but it'll totally prevent Alex from winning.
But if they're smart, I would try to do the same thing they were doing because I know they're not going to win, but if I got a lot of farmers and they got a lot of farmers, maybe they'll be dumb and sacrifice a whole bunch to the gods, way more than is intelligent. And then that'll help me out a whole lot. And I'll be able to save money and get the same effect because they did the sacrificing for me.
This game's greatest strength, I think, is that despite the fact that the game setup and the way things come out is fairly random, the game itself is very deterministic. And two, most importantly, the game is self-regulating all the way through. The bidding, the diminishing returns, every factor in the game, what resources are on what provinces and how everything's balanced, the game self-balances to the point that there is nothing that can really throw the game out of balance, no matter how crazy everyone playing is.
Except getting all the rules wrong. That'll do it.
It'll do it a little bit, but even then, the game was surprisingly still well-balanced.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's...
Unlike Puerto Rico, where if you screw up Puerto Rico, the game just breaks down immediately.
I think what this game really has going for it is that you play most bidding games like, I don't know, Pizarro.
I like Pizarro.
Yeah, where it's basically just bid on stuff, you have money, you bid on something, you win stuff, and then, whatever you win, whoever ends up getting the most stuff from bidding is the winner.
Yep, well, this game one, you're bidding against other people, but you're also bidding, especially, in the second part of the game, on things that have been modified. So what you're bidding on is always changing. And some provinces are worth a lot early on, or not worth a lot early on, or they're worth a lot unless this other province is up for a bid at the same time.
And not only are you bidding, but after you bid, with the same money you bid with, you're going to have to buy stuff to actually build out what you bid on. So even if you buy the best thing, you still have to have enough money left over to get, to squeeze the juice out of the fruit you just bought. And then you have to have enough left to maybe sacrifice to the gods if you want. So it's like this 3-stage thing that's repeated 6 times. And the result, it's a different game every time, but it's still a deterministic game instead of being random. It's just, it's sort of like having a random dungeon.
It's the exact opposite of Ra.
Yeah, pretty much the opposite of Ra, which is another game that the only thing in common between that and Amun Re is the Egyptian theme.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I can't recommend this game highly enough, and for the second night in a row, I'm going to bed.
Me too.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.